Let me say a couple words. Um, it was so annoying to hear Trump touting his record as like the peace guy, the peace guy uh, in Ukraine, that he was going to make peace with Ukraine. I wouldn't count on it, and I want to point specifically to um, the Middle East and especially to Israel, where, again, he was saying it's time to finish the job, to finish them off, um, meaning Hamas, but, Israel says Hamas is everybody. So finish off, the 2 million Palestinians whose lives are really just hanging by a thread right now. Um, it's important, not only is our country funding a genocide, and the rest of the world agrees that this is a genocide. The World International Court or the International Court of Justice, the Criminal Court, the International Criminal Court, has issued arrest warrants for the Israeli leadership. In my view, Joe Biden and Anthony Blinken are also the arbiters of this war as well. They are full partners with Israel. This war and this genocide would not go on without them. In my view, they should be equally culpable. They should be held culpable because Israel operates with their permission. So we have 1 million people that the UN has said are at risk for dying within the next couple of weeks. And starvation is absolutely rampant now throughout Gaza. It's horrifying. I mean, it's really just staggering to look at what's happening. Did that come out? Did that come up at all? No, absolutely not. There was not a word spoken about the genocide that the U.S. is committing right now. This is blood on our hands. And, the majority of the American people wants an immediate ceasefire and a diplomatic solution. We did not hear that come up. And we had two candidates, basically, who are warmongers, who are creatures of AIPAC, who are creatures of the military-industrial complex, which all of Congress is, virtually, with very few exceptions. So, let me just stress that this is a huge factor in why, what the current economic crisis is. Every American household now, on average, is paying $12,000 this year for the endless war machine right now. That's data from Columbia University Economics Sustainability Department, particularly Dr. Jeffrey Sachs in particular. $12,000 per year. It's been $55,000 since the 2001 war began, and the knockoff wars from that as well. So this war is impoverishing us. It's also endangering us. And we're seeing now, it's widely recognized that Israel is on the verge of a full-scale assault against Lebanon and Hezbollah. And this will be absolutely catastrophic. The commentators on this that I have seen are pretty much in agreement that this is an outright disaster and almost sure to bring Iran in. So Israel, I mean, this is like curtains for Israel. This isn't just curtains for Palestine. This is curtains for Israel because its neighbors in particular are being mobilized against it. And the firepower that's being engaged now potentially against Israel should give everyone pause, especially those who think that they are allies of Israel and want to defend Israel. Then we really need to have rational policy right now instead of this just blatant warmongering, the apartheid state, and the longstanding policies of ethnic cleansing and occupation. And the ethnic cleansing, for those who aren't aware, but I imagine most people on this call are aware that the ethnic cleansing was really written into the plan with the founding of the State of Israel and had begun even before Israel was, declared its independence in 1948, that there has been a plan essentially to terrorize the people of Palestine and drive them out. And that's essentially what's been going on. So that's how we fix this. We don't fix this by, attempting to so-called kill off Hamas. We fix the underlying problem, which has to happen. So, there is a way out. There is a way out through international law, human rights, and diplomacy, which should be the basis of U.S. foreign policy, not what we currently have. So the amount of money that we are putting into this is staggering, and that is into the whole war machine, which, let me be clear, we are at risk for World War III here in Israel, and this potential to engage Lebanon now, and which in turn will engage Iran, which in turn will engage Russia, because Iran and Russia are now allied. Israel has also talked about nuking not only Gaza, they've talked about nuking Lebanon as well to get it over quickly, so-called. So two warmongers basically competing for who can get us to World War III the soonest. That's what our choice is currently. And let me just put in a pitch here right now for people to please go to jillstein2024.com and join the team here, help with the petition drives, help with our fundraising, because the Democrats are pulling out all the stops. They're getting really scared, which is a great sign. It's a real tribute to everybody that we are getting somewhere in a big way. But the Democrats are intent on draining our resources here by challenging our ballot access all over the place. They have also advertised, in case you haven't heard about this is pretty incredible, and we'll be sharing the documents, but they have done job postings. The DNC has done job postings basically to supervise infiltrators and spies, essentially. So they are. And I think they've been doing that for a long time. It's just now that they're actually advertising publicly, which is pretty incredible. So we badly need your help to fight back. I'm just seeing, the comment here that, Eisenhower warned us way back in the 50s that this is the military-industrial complex, which has taken on a life of its own. We're seeing that with AIPAC. We saw AIPAC and Gerald Bowman, the congressman from New York district, I forget which one, but basically turned out by a record amount of AIPAC spending. So they are there, and we have to stand up and stand for an America and a world that works for all of us. We are extremely interconnected between America and the world. If we're destroying the rest of the world, if we're setting it on fire, if we're being the biggest driver of the climate crisis and then neglecting it and failing to actually fix it, we are driving this chaos around the world, and that all impacts us back here at home. And the war, the enlarging war, the World War III in the making here between Israel and its genocidal war against Gaza, and then also in Ukraine. Ukraine has sort of faded from the headlines because what's going on, the drama, the blood and gore that we see every day on our screens here in Israel is absolutely flabbergasting. But Ukraine is, a disaster and a tragedy in and of itself. It's something like 1,000 people a day, 1,000 Ukrainians a day are being killed. Then this is in the army, are being killed or seriously wounded, up to 1,000 a day. Generations are being destroyed. The country's being absolutely hollowed out. And the tragedy is that this was completely avoidable. It's been ginned up really since the early 1990s when actually Clinton first began to talk about expanding NATO to the east in violation of the promise that was made to the Soviet Union and to Gorbachev that wouldn't happen in exchange for allowing Germany to reunite and become a member of NATO. So we have been violating those agreements for a long time. More recently, we've been dismantling our nuclear weapons treaties as well. Of course, that's an issue that did not come up tonight either. Nuclear weapons is, certainly an existential issue for us all, and it is proceeding on at least two fronts, actually three if you include China as well, in the conflict that we're also escalating with China, but in particular in Ukraine. It is terrifying what's happening right now. We are really galloping up the escalation ladder now with the use of ever more violent weapons, and the US and NATO have all given permission to Ukraine to use their long-distance weapons to attack Russian territory. And so over last weekend, we saw Russian territory actually bombed with US weapons under guidance of US intelligence because Russia jams its I don't know, the Wi-Fi or something for signal transmission. We bring in signal transmitting drones and relate the information that Ukraine needs to do its targeting. It targeted civilians on the beach. Why they did that, I don't know. I mean, it's just staggering. 5 people playing on a beach were killed in Ukraine. I'm sorry, in Crimea. And Russia has vowed to act in kind, with the US and NATO countries providing really deadly weapons on the borders of Russia. Russia has now said, okay, we'll respond in kind and start providing our deadly weapons to your neighbors. And now they've sent some boats over to, I think it's submarines, but I also heard it was, I don't know, maybe battleships as well. I'm not sure exactly what, but I did see submarines specifically that are now in Cuba and allegedly transmitting arms to Cuba. So like this is the Cuban Missile Crisis all over again, but in many areas now. It's not just in one place, Cuba. This is happening all over. And we desperately need some adults in the room. And as we saw tonight, we've got a couple of really, bullies in the schoolyard and a rather feeble elder who doesn't seem too sure of what he's saying or what he thinks. It's really hard to even understand what he's saying. It's pathetic, that this is our choice between a bully demagogue and a seriously declining, cognitively impaired, frail elder. Those are the choices we've been given, and it's so important for us to stand up and say, no, we are going to be on the ballot. And this is why the Democrats are, going to great lengths right now to try to take us off of the ballot.